You would continue to write in your book, with Vince consumed with his trial, the WWF had King of the Ring pay-per-view from Baltimore, where the announcers were Gorilla Monsoon, Randy Savage, and the former NFL great Art Donovan. I watched and knew it was a train wreck. And this was probably, by the way, the worst announced pay-per-view in the history of professional wrestling. So you got to be feeling like seeing that show, I'm going to get a call. Do you think so?
Well, I knew I needed to get a call. I just didn't know what they would do. There's poor Art Donald on the left. He didn't know come here from Sikkim. And I felt so bad for Monsoon because Monsoon was not a big fan of Randy Savage. Just personality clashes, two strong will guys, two of the most famous personalities in all of wrestling ever. And for whatever reason, they just didn't. It's like oil and water. They just did not blend well together. And I know Monsoon called me. I think his words to me was the next morning, he called me and said, "Did you see that shit?" I said, "I sure did, Gino. I sure did." He said, "My God, was it awful?" I said, "Well, I don't know. I want to say it was awful, but it wasn't up to your standards. I can tell you that." So, and then maybe he said something to Kevin Dunn, and Kevin Dunn said something, whatever. You never know. You never know there. And I knew Kevin Dunn had a hand in it, which was fine with me. I always got along with Kevin. Kevin Dunn used his own judgment more often than not. And, but he can, like any other human, he can let personalities get involved in decision making, which is never a great thing. So, but it was a horrible show. Poor Art. I don't know. I don't think they even had him go do it. You take a couple of matches that you're going to be doing, and you go into the studio and you practice. Yes, you practice. And they didn't have any run throughs with Art. They just let him alone. And he was popular in Baltimore. He was a former Colt. He was an iconic player there. And so I'm sure that the local publicity indicated how happy WWE was, or WWF at that time, how they were in getting everything ready to roll. I just felt bad for Monsoon. He didn't deserve that deal. And I remember asking him, "Did you guys do a walkthrough of any sorts?" He said, "Hell no. You know we didn't." So it was challenging for those guys. And Savage was challenging to work with anyway. He was perfectionist. And then, of course, Gorilla was Gorilla. He was as staple as anybody could ever be, and the standard bearer for pro wrestling announcers. I get it all the time on social media, uh, tweets and what they're called now. But anyway, he was just really he was dejected because he knew that it's somewhere along the way, maybe sooner than later, as bad as he wanted to admit it, that there's going to be a change made there, and that he would be like Jr. He would not be included in the change. He's smart old guy. I can tell you that. I love Gorilla Monsoon. I never worked. He and Bob Collar were my two aces. They were the two guys that I knew that I could depend on. They'd always be ready to do their job. They cared about their work, and I love both those guys. Bob Cottle he's an angel, and so was Monsoon. So I it seemed like things worked out as they were supposed to at the end of the day. I was there an awful long time, but it was challenging at times to get that jersey back and wear it.
Let's talk about when you get that call within days of this really atrocious King of the Ring pay-per-view. Your phone rings asking if you'd be interested in coming back and doing Monday Night Raw. Sure, I said. I worked with legal about my contract, where I got a nice bonus for working SummerSlam too. Not knowing how long I'd be needed and knowing that SummerSlam was a high priority, I negotiated a very healthy 5-figure payday. Then, fortunately, Vince got exonerated. So who gives you a call to ask you to come back? Is that
I
to
think
Lisa Wolf?
it might have been Lisa. I thought it might be Kevin Dunn. I think nobody had a real confidence that Lisa was the right person for that job. So I'd say that she was involved, obviously, because money was changing hands, and I had them by the. I guess I thought I might have had them by the short hairs because they would run out of people, and Vince had confidence that I could go out there and do the job, and I did, and I could, and I did. So, but I want to think it's Kevin Dunn that called me, and it took 30 seconds for me to say yes,
Right.
but I was more prepared in cutting my own deal because I didn't have an agent at that time. There was no Barry Bloom in my life, so there should have been. I probably could have got a lot more money, but I thought I got what was fair and I was worth the price, and it seemed like it worked out pretty well, Connie.
Let's talk a little bit about the return because it's written in the Observer on July 9th. I'm sorry, in the Torch. Wade Keller wrote, and what had to be tough for both sides to agree to, Jim Ross and the WWF agreed to a 2-month contract for Ross to fill Vince McMahon's announcing role until after the trial. So, as a reminder, when you were saying, I'm glad your family's there and they've been an inspiration, you're in code talking about the steroid trial. We know that is the biggest issue in Vince's life. He probably doesn't have time to worry about Art Donovan, but he knows, hey, JR does a good job. So you come back. Is this right? This report, it was just a 2-month deal at first?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was through late summer into past SummerSlam, and it included SummerSlam because I got a lot more money for working SummerSlam than I did the weekly stuff. So yeah, it was I guess all in all, it was about a 2-month deal. It was the shortest contract I ever negotiated and signed, without question. But it's also, I made more money on that SummerSlam than I normally made on several events.
Your return happens on a Superstars, July 2nd, 1994. It's going to feature you and Jerry Lawler working together for the very first time. Man, look at that. Hopefully you're watching along with us over on YouTube. This early shot of you and the King together, who would have thought this is how it all came together?
Yeah, it's crazy. You can see a little remnant there if you're looking at your screen, the Bell's palsy on the the left side of my face is a little bit out of sorts, but I just persevered, man. When I got on the set, I was ready to work. I had not a care in the world. I wasn't worried about stress and illness and the tentative nature of my role. I was just really excited about the opportunity to get back in the saddle, as it were. And like I said before, sometimes what's supposed to happen does.